What's going on, everyone? Climate Data Report here with the Monday weather update for Monday, February 19th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily weather update. We talk about weather that's ongoing in the United States. We provide the forecast. We talk about weather records and sometimes weather events going on around the world. If you like this type of content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. Starting off today, as you may know, it has been relatively warm in much of the U.S. for the majority of the winter. And that continues not only in the U.S., but other parts of the world. Check this out. In Spain, a record tomato harvest was helped by record warm weather in January. That's right, the tomato crop is doing much better than usual because it's just been warm. Remember, tomatoes, they're a warm weather uh, crop. So when the weather's warmer, they're going to do well. Here in the United States, at least in the northern portion of the United States, tomato season's usually in summer, and then it ends in September. Down in the south, it can last well into the fall. And, well, that's what's happening over in Spain. Remember, it's winter there right now. And here they are, they're cropping tomatoes. They're having a harvest. All right, checking out this. Today, there is a severe weather threat that's ongoing in California. There's already been one severe thunderstorm warning earlier, and I saw this on Twitter, and I thought this would be interesting to share. A lot of people have been talking about the potential for a tornado or two in California today. Well, take a look at this. This is a map that shows confirmed tornadoes in California from 1970 to 2023. And you can see here on the map, there are multiple counties in California that have had tornadoes. So it's not totally rare. It's not uncommon. It just doesn't happen that often. But it has certainly happened before. For example, Sacramento has had 15 tornadoes in the last, since 1970 through 2023. So in the last 50, over the last 50 years, there have been some tornadoes in California, and it's possible there could be one or two today. Also wanted to show you this. The storm system continues out west. This is modeling. This is from the RRFSA experimental model. It's a model that's actually going to eventually go operational. I don't know when the date is that's going to go operational, but there's talk. It could become an operational model. And check out this. This shows the precipitable water value in the atmosphere. And what we're looking at here is, you can see, moisture, atmospheric river conditions really continue in the portions of Southern California. But as this advances into Tuesday afternoon and into Wednesday, you can see here, drier air starts to come in. So eventually, things will get drier again. Tomorrow's not going to be as wet of a day as today, but there's still the threat for more rainfall. You'll see that as we get to the models. Let's take a look at the national satellite picture. You can see here, for the most part, the United States is relatively quiet today. Things are starting to dry out in Florida. The sun's actually coming back out. Skies are clearing. And that's going to get you into some trouble in northern Florida. You're probably thinking, well, wait a second, clear skies, that's a good thing. Yes, that's a good thing, but when we come over to the modeling, you'll see here, actually the National Hazards Map, you'll see there's actually the threat that you might see a freeze or a frost in portions of northern Florida tonight. West Coast, you can see the system is still ongoing. Rest of the country is relatively quiet. Let's go out to the West Coast. You can see clouds continue on the West Coast, and we go out into the Pacific. You can see here, once we get past this system, there's going to be a quiet period for a while, and incidentally, here's Hawaii. Not terribly active in Hawaii right now, but there is some cloudy conditions that are moving towards the islands at this time. All right, taking a look at the national radar picture, you see much of the country is quiet. There's a weak system moving into Missouri. Not expecting much out of that. The same thing with Kansas. You're not going to see much from that. Where our biggest concern for the United States right now, of course, is on the West Coast, where you can see moisture continues into the mountains and in California, also up in Washington and Oregon as well. Temperatures across the country, slightly below average in the Northeast and North today, but really it's not all that much below average. Your average, like here in Philadelphia, our average right now should be about 46 to 47 degrees. And today we got up to, or at least here at my location, I think I recorded 43 degrees today on my Davis. Down in the south, this is slightly below average for you down in Florida at this time of year. And like I said, you're going to run into some trouble tonight. So if you have anything growing in northern Florida, you might want to move that inside if you can. And let's take a look at that closer. You can see here, there are the potential for freeze and frost tonight. Freeze warning in southeast Georgia, frost advisory for portions of inland Georgia and portions of Florida. You can see that here. Temperatures, they're going to go into the low 30s. Perhaps maybe even right down to that freezing mark. So if that happens, that could damage any crops. So if you have anything that's in like a potted plant or anything, bring it inside tonight. Would be a good idea to do that. Let's take a look at what's going on with the expected precipitation over the next days 1 through 7. Quiet in the southeast, quiet in the plains, but you do see two areas of precipitation that are of interest. First, the west coast, mainly from what's ongoing right now. Then you can see, as we get to the later portion of this forecasting period, in the Ohio Valley, there will be some precipitation. That'll come later this week. Also, in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as well, there'll be a couple systems that could provide some precipitation, but nothing major expected. There is a moderate risk of excessive rainfall across portions of central and southern, we'll call it southern California today, slight risk in the northern portion of California, and then take a look at day 2. Yes, Southern California, once again, a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. Some flooding's possible, maybe even mud and landslides. It's possible. It's something we'll have to keep our eyes on. Of course, I will tweet on my Twitter at Climate Data Report if anything comes out with that. All right, we have to take a look at the convective outlook for today, and there is a slight risk of severe weather near the Sacramento region today. Possibility of a tornado or two, wind, and hail. Let's do a live look in on radar there right now. And you can see here, currently, there are no warnings for inland areas. However, there is a special marine warning. Let's get closer to that. There is a special marine warning right now, just south of the Bay Area. Just a little bit further south than the Bay Area, but you can see here, Half Moon Bay, just south of you. This is right here. We'll have to watch what happens with that as it comes on shore. If there's any rotation, a waterspout cannot be ruled out with that. All right, taking a look here. Day 2 across the United States, nothing. Just there may be some thunder and lightning tomorrow. We'll have to see if they add a marginal risk. I don't think they will, but you never know. Then on day 3, you can see here, Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, portions of Missouri, and portions of northern Arkansas. There is a marginal risk of severe weather. Right now, not expecting anything major out of this, but it says isolated to scattered storms will probably develop within the warm conveyor east of this area of low pressure. So we'll have to see. There could be some isolated wind damage. I mean, the dew points aren't really that high with this event for there to be a potential tornado outbreak. Taking a look at the models, we'll take a look at the west coast first. And let me reverse this. And you can see here, here's the isolated to scattered thunderstorms, where there'll be a few that could be severe. And you can see this is going to continue into the evening, and that should last maybe even into the nighttime hours. You can see here, right on through the night and into Tuesday. Look at this. The HRRR model is actually showing a few cells tomorrow as well. We'll have to see. Should that happen, maybe a marginal risk would get added, but I'm not terribly impressed at this time, but you never know. The Pacific coast can always often provide some surprises. Taking a look tomorrow, Southern California, you do get into the action, but as we head into Wednesday, you can see here, it starts to fizzle. Let's go over to the NAM for the national picture. You can see here, as I start this out, relatively quiet across the country, but again, we'll have that system. We'll have to watch as we head into Wednesday. You can see right here, there's not even that much precipitation with this. Matter of fact, let's reverse this. Here's Wednesday. Now we head into Thursday. Not much precipitation. There will be a warm front in the Ohio Valley. That could develop some precipitation. And that's one of the reasons why you saw on the Weather Prediction Center some precipitation forecast there. Now let's go to the longer range, and we're taking a look at the GFS now. You can see here, system comes through, and then by later in the day, Wednesday, Thursday, it really clears out on the west coast, and then there's that system across the Ohio Valley. It comes into Pennsylvania. There'll be some precipitation with it, but honestly, it's not all that impressive at this time. The European is actually the more impressive model right now than the GFS. You can see here, it does provide a little bit of snow for northern New England. I'm not terribly concerned at this time. I think it's just going to be maybe northern Maine at the most. And behind that, weather conditions will get colder as we head into next weekend, but it's not going to last long. If you want snow, you want cold, this is not the pattern for you. It's going to be very short-lived, and as I advance this even further, you can see as we head into Sunday already, look at that. There's another shot trying to come down, but warm air is also trying to come into the picture as well, and eventually as we head into the following week, the warm air is going to win out, and it's going to be above normal for much of the country. Then we will have to watch this storm system as it comes into the plains. It's going to be a warm front for the northeast, but there will be a strong area of low pressure, so maybe places in northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, we'll have to watch. That could be a snow threat for you, and there might even be another piece of energy behind that. It's over 200 hours out, so we'll have to watch how that pans out. But the one thing that I'm pretty confident about, the East Coast is going to be relatively well above average next week. And you'll see that when we go to the Climate Prediction Center in just a moment. Beyond this point, again, not all that active for much of the country. Then later on, maybe some Gulf action starts up again with the southern jet, but that's pretty far out. We'll worry about that down the line. But for the most part, we're looking at a quiet period, aside from the Great Lakes and aside from the West Coast. You can see here, I backtracked a little bit. The West Coast, late this weekend into early next week, yes, there may be some more activity for you. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at the Climate Prediction Center now. Look at this, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Well above average. So even with that brief period of troughing that's going to come into the Northeast Friday through about Sunday, it's not enough to really do much of anything. This is above average. It's big time. It's impacting much of the country east of the Rocky Mountains. Precipitation amounts slightly above average in the Northeast, below average now in the South, and it's not looking all that wet for you over the next 6 to 10 days. West Coast, yeah, it is, because there'll be another system that comes into play as we head into the weekend. Taking a look at 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, now you can see it just bursts right into the Northeast. Well above average. No real signs of any snow, nothing major. Again, maybe northern Maine, that's about it. And of course, we do have to watch what's going to happen up in Wisconsin and Minnesota. We'll see what the verdict is with that in the next few days. And take a look at the West Coast. Slightly below average for you. Well below average in Alaska. Look at that. That really sticks out this time. And taking a look now at 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. Just slightly above average north of, we'll call it Interstate 40. How about that? Just slightly above average. And in the south, slightly below average. But again, I think at some point, the southern jet may come back into play as we get into maybe beyond the 8-day period. So we'll have to see. There could be another system that loads up down there, and we'll see what comes of that. Slightly above average precipitation in the northwest in the 8 to 14 day period, and slightly below average from Texas on westward. Alrighty guys, that does it for today's weather update. We'll have another one again tomorrow. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. Share this wherever on all of your social media pages. And remember, when I'm not doing updates, you can follow me on Twitter at Climate Data Report. That's Climate Data capital RPT. I'll see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, have a fantastic day. Enjoy the weather where you are, and if you're in a storm, stay safe.